On today's episode, Missy and I are talking about the uniqueness of self.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
One to another episode of On Finding Peace. And this is the podcast where Missy and I talk about practical life tips for helping you to find your inner peace and happiness on a daily basis in life. And in today's topic, we're going to be talking about the uniqueness of self and put that over to society and talk about some positives on what helps us to be different from the other people who are out there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. So how's it going, Missy?
Pretty good, yeah. Definitely experiencing the uniqueness of my own self and the interactions I get to have with other people who are exactly like me and then nothing at all like me. So it's definitely been it's been a fun couple of weeks since we talked last.
So how's isolation working for you? And are things kind of lifted, or is it still?
I think everything's opened back up here. We're in Florida. You know, we've got restaurants are only at like 25% capacity. The like clothing stores finally just opened up this week. Not that I'm going shopping. I know how to online shop. So, yeah, I mean, people are kind of trying to get back to some sort of normalcy. You know, I work for a company who manufactures a disinfectant product, so that's been very busy for us.
Yeah.
You know, we're helping people everywhere to try and get back to normalcy. So it's been really great, actually. How about yourself?
Yeah. Here in Maryland, it's loosened up a little bit, but not by much.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're still supposed to be, we're not told to like isolate at home now, that it's the phrase is now safer at home.
Yeah.
So they would prefer you to stay at home, but some things are loosening and beginning to open up, but we're not at the point of opening any restaurants or, you know, that type of setting where you would have more than 10 people.
Yeah.
So there's still, you know, some rumblings now as, you know, the longer this goes, you know, it starts to bother people. And, you know, I think our psyche and our emotions are, you know, changing. You know, and that's one thing that I've been seeing, you know, with my clients is that I think in some ways the anxiety level goes up now versus at the beginning.
Yeah.
You know, because it really is now an unknown, you know, and I think a lot of us were like, well, we have a mission, you know, so if we stay home for a little bit, you know, everything will be great and we'll go back to normal. And, you know, what we're now seeing is, well, you know, this is going on for a few months. And, you know, I think people are coming to a realization that whatever normal was is not what normal will be for quite some time.
Well, I mean, and now we've had months to sit at home and think about it, you know, and, you know, as part of what kind of helps us realize that, you know, everyone has their path. We all have our role in what we're doing. And, you know, being able to focus on where we want to go and how we want to get there is going to be so much more helpful than, you know, what we're afraid of or what we have now to worry about. You know, because it's all about helping each other get there, to be comfortable, to be able to get out and feel safer out in public again, where we're not like, I'm scared to look at you, I'm scared to talk to you, and my God, you're within 6 feet of my space. You know what I mean? And I mean, we probably did that before. Like, I don't know about you, but standing in line, sometimes if somebody was talking right here, it was like, hey, you're a little close to me. So, I mean, we still did that before, but now it's, now there's the lingering effect of, well, what if there's something wrong with them? And it's almost like it's
Right.
prejudice. You know what I mean? It's almost like a prejudice that we're putting against people, whether we know or don't know. We're having some sort of judgment against where they are and what they're going through.
Right. Yeah, that whole closeness issue isn't so much anymore what my personal boundary or bubble is, and you're within that boundary, so I'm nervous. Now it's, well, if you're within that bubble, are you going to get me sick?
Right.
Or if anybody does cough just because you got a tickle in your throat, well, what does everybody around you now think? So yeah, I think mentally that this is changing us, and but I think we can't help it too, because I know here in Maryland, if we go outside or go into public, we're supposed to have the mask on. So that becomes a very material reminder that things aren't normal, that things are different. And I've even caught myself, being, just a little bit paranoid. I don't want to say a lot paranoid. I'm usually not paranoid, but now I start noticing if people are wearing a mask or not, and that becomes a judgment, and that's definitely what I don't want to do. And, typically when I see people, I don't put a judgment either way. It's like, oh, there's another person. But now I'd be looking and saying, oh, that's a person without a mask. So what's going on?
So wait, you mean you're human?
No.
No.
Yes, exactly what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, and, hey, I like to think that sometimes I'm above those humanness feelings. I mean, even a cough where I'm like, wow, gosh, where'd that come from? Oh gosh, I can't clear my throat. I can't, whether it's phlegm or whatever, it's like, oh no, do I have corona? You know what I mean? And the thought comes, but it's like, okay, that's me being me. That's me recognizing, okay, my awareness just went there. Do I want it to stay? And, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, because really, I mean, like, if I get a fever, yada, yada, that kind of stuff, I'll have more symptoms that'll go along with it, just rather than just a cough. But at the same time, like how far down the rabbit hole do I dig when I have that thought? And
right.
Being able to express yourself with those people that you're with, or in your atmosphere, is the best thing that you can do, because it helps other people through whatever process that they're going through as well. I couldn't come up with half of the things that I do if it weren't for the people that I interact with. And at the same time, it teaches me whenever I'm working with somebody, because I'm like, oh wow, it's funny that I just gave that answer or gave that response, or whatever they did just tagged me. It's all information that's showing up to teach us what needs to be healed and to help us learn to elevate ourselves. And
Exactly, and I think really the big point in what you're saying there is, how far do we want to dwell on this and take this? That yes, we are human. We're going to have these thoughts. We're going to have some worries, some paranoias. But yeah, how far do I want to play with that? How far do I want to take this? I mean, am I going to take this to the point of, well, maybe I'm just going to live the rest of my life in isolation? And should I be leaving my house at all? And I think that's one of the extremes where we can rationalize it now. So prior to all of this, if a client were to say to me, well, I stay in my house and I get everything delivered to me and I do all online shopping and all that, I'd be wondering what's going on, that they don't want to socialize. But now, if you were to say that, you might have to sit back and go, huh, you could do that, and maybe it would be safer to do that.
Right. Well, we have, that's my rabbit hole effect. It's like you're walking by and you see it and you notice it, and it can just be not a thought the second minute, a second later, if you just keep going. It's the digging and the investigation and the, continuous entertaining of that thought that keeps you in fear and worry and trying to predict the future. And I don't know about you, but I'm not getting paid to be a psychic. So I don't like living that way, and I'm not very good at it. And whenever I have worried, it's always brought me back to recognizing that I'm not very good at predicting what's going to happen in the future. And so the more that I stay in the moment and the more that I come back to, I like to refer to those thoughts as like a wisp of smoke or like letting a helium balloon go. You watch it leave just like that. Like it disappears as soon as it came, and then you can move on. But if you hold it and squeeze it and love it, like the little animal George that we used to watch on a cartoon when we were little, then it's like it's that fuzzy purple bunny that you can't get out of your head because somebody told you to stop thinking fuzzy purple bunny. It doesn't make any sense to keep entertaining those kind of things. I'm tempted when we edit this to throw in a purple little bunny that's going to hop across the So just so you know, that may happen, but but you're right. That's something that I always try to get across to my clients. That we can't predict the future. We don't know what the future holds, and we can do our best at planning for what we would like the future to be, but always keeping ourselves open to the possibility that our planning may end up being fruitless because the future may end up changing into something that we never even imagined that it would be, which might be something greater. Here's the other thing. This bringing us back to the uniqueness of self is that each person is on their path. They're specifically where they're supposed to be. Some of us are real close to the finish line. Some of us are still in the middle. It doesn't matter really where you're at. What it is that when you allow yourself the ability to be who you are, one, you're helping all of expansion. You're helping us all to elevate ourselves. And nobody's telling you what you're doing is wrong. Nobody is saying that it's good or bad or right or wrong. What we're saying is that if you let your awareness recognize where it's at, you can bring yourself to a happier place a little easier when you just gently bring yourself back to, knowing that you can't predict the future, or knowing that it's not going to hurt you to go put your toes in the grass. Don't go lick toilet seats like some kind of but at the same time, you definitely want to make sure that what you're putting out there is what you want to bring back to you. Like, I don't want to put out fear because then I'm always going to have experiences that are going to cause me to be more fearful. If I put out joy and acceptance and surrender, then I'm going to have and be in the flow of life where I can just easily gravitate from one thing to the next.
So a lot about uniqueness, I think, just comes into acceptance. Do I accept me for who I am at this present moment? And maybe if there's something about me that I would like to do different, I could work on that. Sure. But to start with, accepting who I am, where I am, and living that out as I live my life.
I've always been taught that you're set up to win. 100% of the time, you are always set up to win. There's no failure because you learned how to not do something. That's not a failure. You just learned how to not do it. Like Edison, 1,000 ways to not make the light bulb.
Yep.
You learn how to do things. And if you look at everything that happens as information, that will help kind of like going up the steps. It brings you one level up and the next level up. And that's how you're traveling through your life, because you can't forget and go 10 levels down. You just have to learn that lesson and then you get to the next step. And so the more you look at the information that's showing up, the easier that I feel like life is to travel through and navigate, because then you're like, what is this teaching me? What do I need to learn? What needs to heal for me? And you're in the question of curiosity about what's going on rather than the judgment.
Exactly. And it's that judging that I think causes us most of the anxiety.
Yeah.
Because once we start judging, then we start putting on expectations that may be unreasonable, and then we start using words like should, which never come out well. So, typically what I try to tell people and try to do myself is to not use judgment type words like you had said earlier, about good and bad, but to make it more of what is healthy and not healthy.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to judge my client to where they are, or what they're doing, or anything like that. But my main question to them is what you're doing or thinking or feeling, is that healthy for you right now?
Right. Yeah.
Which I think is a whole different thing than saying, well, you're not thinking right.
Yeah.
Because who am I to say that you're not thinking right? You may have a unique way of thinking that's going to get you to the same end point, but that's not the way I think. But that doesn't matter.
When they're in that space, sometimes they can't hear you. Like I've had many clients I've had clients, family, friends who I see so much beauty and light and amazingness in. And I've had people do that for me when I was a little bit further back in where I'm at. They're like, what is wrong with her? Why can't she see how powerful she is, how amazing she is, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't see it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And once you start to allow, you start to realize that, wow, I am deserving of these things, exactly where I'm at. I'm perfect, whole, and complete. And I'm not a body. I'm not these thoughts. I'm not what everybody else says I am. So it doesn't matter, like not in a not caring way. And I know I say that a lot, but I do care how other people perceive me, but not to the point where I'm going to alter who I am to please them, which
Right.
in my past. And, I've had this insane gift for giving other people my belief in them. And it took a lot to learn how to have your own belief in yourself, to be confident and walk forward and be like, yeah, I just hyena laughed over there at that joke, but I don't care. I'm being me. And, some people are going to like it and some people aren't going to like it, but that's okay because I enjoy who I'm being.
Right. And I think that is that whole piece of that acceptance. Do I accept who I am right now? But that also doesn't mean that it becomes that cop out, that, well, I am who I am, so just, you need to accept this. If you notice, I'm saying it's our acceptance of who we are and then moving forward to what we need to do. So I can't make somebody accept me or not accept me. And my goal shouldn't be to try to make somebody accept me or not accept me for who I am.
Oh, yeah.
Do I accept who I am? And how do I use that uniqueness to make me a better version of who I am, or a healthier version of who I am?
So a year ago or so, I went through a transformational leadership course. And they had a great point that, when you're leading with spirit in who you are in your soul, then you're standing in the light. And of course, you do things because you're led to do those things. Now, ego, on the other hand, will have you doing things to be right, to be in control, to look good, or to stay safe. So, and that kind of boils down to what's going on for us right now in this pandemic. Are we living from a spirit-led life of, doing things because we want to help, we want to support, we want to love, we want to be joyful, and we want to finally get through this? Or are we leading from an ego where I want to stay safe, I want to be right, I want to look good, or I want to be in control? Because those are the ways that I feel like in being that we're not gonna, as a whole collective, the whole world, we're not going to be able to be at our greatest potential to solve this sooner, if that makes sense, if we're leading from that egoic side.
Oh, definitely. And I'm hoping that one thing that comes from this whole experience, that people have a deeper understanding that we aren't in control of much. And, really what it comes down to is we're in control of our own thoughts and actions, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But we like to pretend that we have all of this control. And that crashed with this. We don't have control. And the fact that we're living the way we're living shows we don't have control.
Yeah.
But to me, that's not a negative. We're again looking at accepting what the reality is. So reality says I can't control what's happening around me. I can't control other people. I can't control the government. I can't control any of this stuff. But what can I control? And I can control me.
Yeah.
My thoughts, my feelings, my responses. How am I going to cope with all of this that I can't control? And how do I find those healthy ways to cope with what I can't control?
Well, yeah, and I mean, and we're here to support each other through this, right? So,
Yep.
so if we can, and we've already talked about that through connection through service and experience your experience. We've talked about it in our other podcasts, but like personally, our reactions rather than our response. So like sometimes I feel like I know when I react, like sometimes I can react and you're like, whoa. But when I stop and I think about it and I actually respond to a situation, usually I'm responding from the heart rather than the head. So my reactions are usually thought-based, or I'm already in a mood and I'm reacting to whatever happened based on that mood or based on the thought process I was stuck in. But when I'm responding, it's always from the heart, and I encourage people to try to be more in your heart so we can, have compassion for what other people are going through, because some people are really scared and some people are like, hey, life is normal, no big deal, we're just going to keep on going. And we need one with the other. We need each other to recognize a lot of different things, how far we've come, how we can help others, how we can be supportive of what somebody else is going through.
Well, it's really, that to me is where the uniqueness comes out, because we are social creatures. Now, for me, I'm very much an introvert, and there's a part of this whole time frame when I'm like, yeah, I've been waiting for this my whole life. You're telling me I have to stay at home and I can't go out and socialize and I have to have things brought to me. Like,
yeah,
okay.
Okay.
I've been waiting for society to figure this out for my whole life.
Right, exactly. That's great.
But even as an introvert, and a pretty strong one, I still need that social aspect to life. So even though times when I might be forced into a social setting, which is going to make me a lot more uncomfortable, but I still wanted to have an option to choose a social event.
Yeah.
So the struggle that I have right now, even though this is like kind of a joyous time for me, it is still, there are times within this isolation that I would still say, it might be nice for me to head out to a restaurant or, visit some friends, or because I would have that choice to do that, and that's still lacking. So I think, us as social creatures, part of the reason for that is survival, that we combine our uniqueness with everyone else's uniqueness, and that's what allows us to survive as, a group.
Yeah. Well, like one of the things that I can say is that I think that the most important thing is, and I'm going to risk sounding really, really cheesy when I say it, but you gotta let your light shine, because it's really imperative for the rest of us to be able to witness who you are as a person to help us get through. And really, you might not think that smile to the cash register at the grocery store, or the kind words that you give to your teller at the bank, or whatever. It's just I tell people I love them all the time, and I'm very safe, closed with my feelings a lot. Unless you're my friend, you don't know. But when you open up and you let that light shine, people see it, and it affects like the butterfly effect is real. I'm telling you, I've
Yep.
my own life, and I would love to see it like just travel throughout the world because you have let your own light shine. So
Yep.
there's my cheesy service announcement for today.
Well, you can call it cheesy, but I totally agree with it. So we can just say we're both being cheesy about it. But to me, it is real, though. I mean, and we can call it the butterfly effect. I like to talk about domino effect. Either way, it's the same thing. That what we do in sharing our uniqueness with someone else is going to be positively changing that may change the next person, the next person, next person.
When
And
it's so hard to not, I mean, we're human. Like there are things that happen sometimes that we all go like, oh my God, that's horrible. And at the same time, I hate to say it, but there's a purpose behind everything that happens. There's a lesson and there's information in it. And the more we stay neutral over things, the better off mentally and, peacefully we're going to end up being.
right, but that triggers in us that response to share with others.
Yeah.
That there's a part of us that when we hear bad news, we're going to like slouch into a corner somewhere and we want to isolate. But there's another part of us that at the same time wants to social.
Yeah, we need that support from one another.
Exactly. So again, during this time where it's bizarre that we're living the way we're living, but how do we still be able to reach out and as you're saying, let the light shine? How can we, in big or small ways, um, be able to share with somebody else that we're still human through all of this. Whether we're wearing masks, whether we're physically distancing, whatever we're doing, we're still human,
Yeah.
and each other is still part of us. And it makes our uniqueness.
I think it's really also part about sharing your passion, and that could be our listener challenge for the week. Is that so I'm a writer, and like you were talking about your daughter beforehand. She wants to be in law and how great she is. It's like sharing the things that you're passionate about with everybody is showing your light. And that could be fishing, that could be whatever. It doesn't matter. It's about sharing your passion that shows your light, and in doing that with one another, just for no reason, just for like, it's like some people are artists, some people are singers, some people are, we all have that kind of talent deep inside of us, and some of us show it and some of us don't. And so I would say that maybe that's a great encouragement for this week, is to share your passion and, show your light to the world.
I like that. I think that's an excellent listener challenge, and it takes what we thought might be cheesy into a challenge, and we want everyone to be cheesy.
Let's be cheesy with us. Hashtag cheesy.
So, yeah, no, I think that is the truth. I mean, it is our passions that guide us, and
Uh-oh, I think I lost you, Chris. Are you back? You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, all right, okay.
I lost my internet for some reason.
No, it's okay. So I'm sorry, you were saying?
I'll edit this somehow, but so when we're looking at, people who feel that they don't have any guidance in life or any way to go in life, I think that's because they're lacking that sense of passion about something in life, or they don't know how to express their passion. But if you have a passion, you have guidance in life, and it is to follow whatever that passion may be.
Absolutely. When I also think that, it really it affects others when they see the passion, when they see that light come from you. It's like, something just as simple as I was led to do something a week and a half ago. A thought popped into my mind to contact someone. And I kept going about my way. I didn't get the opportunity to do it. Well, a few days later, I posted a picture of myself, and sure enough, this individual reached out to me and contacted me, and now I'm working with that person. And it was just it was an amazing turn of events, because in letting my light shine, it reflected them to me. It actually showed them that we were supposed to connect, and it was like the universe said, okay, well, it didn't happen this way, but we'll have it happen this way. So everything always happens in perfect timing.
Well, think about people who attract other people, and it usually comes down to personality. But then if we want to break down, well, what part of the personality, and it's usually somebody who has a passion about something. So that's where you can attract other people towards you, and then have that ability in your own unique passion to help them to move forward within themselves, and creating a better world for them. And then we go back to the butterflies and the dominoes, and all of those effects.
It's like being a radio tower, and just emitting everything that you want from yourself, and then watching it all come right back to you. I've had so many experiences with people lately who they've confided in me their aloneness and their solitude, and of course the situation doesn't seem to be helping. It's like,
Yep.
oh yeah, I knew I was right, I am alone. And in that, I'm like, like, do you not see the beauty of what's happening right now? Like, this is spirit saying to you, or universe, or God, or whatever, saying to you, like, you're not alone, because you couldn't be having this conversation with somebody that's like me, who channels energy, and lets the love flow straight through them, to show you how not alone that you are, how absolutely loved that you are. And it's been incredible,
Yep.
and I hope that everybody gets to experience that. But you have to remember, first and foremost, that being yourself, not comparing yourself to anybody else and what they have, but being who you are, and going forward with that power, because you are that. That's your superpower, is being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Well, we really lose that when we try to be something that we're not. And that usually comes in on that notion that, well, I'm not good enough, so therefore I have to be somebody else. But if we are going to compare ourselves to other people, then we're definitely not going to be, um, worthy of, or be enough for, because we're not that other person. So there's no way that I can measure up to that.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for me to measure up to somebody else. So it's important for me to do what I can do,
Yeah.
or be inspired by what they're doing. Maybe there's somebody who has the resources that they're like, feeding thousands of homeless, and I can just do like 10 people I can help.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, because maybe they can inspire me to help the 10 people that I can help. But I don't need to compare myself and say, yeah, but they're doing thousands and I'm just doing, 10.
Yeah, but
That's got nothing to do with it.
do what you can do. I mean, those people started somewhere too,
Exactly.
and that's when you're not really in judgment outwards. Well, you are. I mean, you're saying they're good and they're those kind of things, but at the same time, you're inner judging, you're becoming a martyr of, not being good enough and not being worthy of doing those kind of things. But again, everybody starts somewhere.
Yep. Well, and when we internalize that judgment, then that's also going to stop us. So if I want to compare myself and say, well, I don't have the resources to feed the thousands that, so-and-so is doing.
Yeah.
So what does that say to me is, well, I'm going to just sit on my couch and do nothing.
Yeah.
When in reality, I do have resources to do something. So be inspired by what they're doing. I don't have to copy them.
Yeah.
But I can be inspired by that and allow that to become a passion that gets me up and moving and doing what I can do, so I can imitate that passion of theirs, but I don't have to do what they're doing.
Yeah.
I have to do me, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if people out there listening, like, have you ever sat and listened to somebody who's passionate about something and you have no clue what they're talking about? I do this with my significant other. He loves cars. He's very passionate. That's his thing. He can talk about motors, he can talk about building, anything. And I could just listen to him for hours, even though I have no idea what he's saying, because I see the passion, I see the joy, I see that. It's amazing to me. And, I think that if you think about things like that and you recognize that in other people, you'll see it in yourself too.
Oh, definitely. And what that does for you, so in that example, even though you may not understand it, or that's not an interest of yours, or whatever, but it's internally changing you.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing where we have choice, and because you could sit there and think, this is boring, this is dull, why does he go on and on and on? Or, as you say, you look at it from the other way, that we'll look at this passion. And maybe I can let this passion inspire me to what I'm passionate about. And it doesn't have to be his passion, but to let that passion inspire me, or I can let that passion bring me down and go like, why do you keep going on and on about this? I don't like it.
Well, and for me, being an empath, and I can feel other people's emotions, like I thrive on that kind of stuff. And, I kind of think of myself as a filter. Sometimes it's great to feel the good stuff, but on other fronts, when people are going through things they appear as negative to them, it's like I get to filter out, and the more I resist what's going on with them, then the more it sticks to me, But the more I just allow it to happen, they feel better. I feel better because I didn't let it go, and I was a good friend and listened and did what I do best. And then I can just walk away knowing everything's good. I know that was a little off from the subject, but it's me being me. And and when I resist that part of myself, it actually keeps me small. It dims my light, and I think that's tying it all together.
Yeah, definitely. And it even comes into the idea of perfection. When people talk to me about, wanting to be perfect, and perfection seems to stop us from doing anything because, if I can't do it perfectly, I'm not going to do it at all. But my take on the perfection is, are you being true to yourself? Are you being the best version of yourself that you can be? And if you are, that is your perfection. Yeah. Because you're not trying to be anything that you're not. Absolutely. When you're focused on just being you and being the best at being you, that's perfection.
That is. I mean, and the saying I've always heard was, strive for excellence, not strive for perfection, but strive for excellence. And you'll always get there. You're always looking to be the best that you can be. And being yourself is that.
Yeah. Don't try to be anybody else, because then you're not going to be perfect, because you can't be them.
Yeah.
You are unique to you and they're unique to them. So, of course, you're not going to be perfect if you try to be somebody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that was a really good talk today, I think, anyway.
Yeah. This is good. And, hopefully we got some really good responses for our listener challenge, and sharing your passions and, letting us know what what it is that you're passionate about and how you share that with others.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. Like, we want to see the light up around the world. We want to see everybody bringing their light and watching the butterfly effect of how amazing that this world will be, focusing on being ourselves.
Exactly. Sounds awesome.
All right. Well, thanks so much for listening.
Yep, appreciate all of our audience, and spread the word about this podcast. And if you have any ideas for any topics coming up, just let either of us know, and we'll see what we can do for you.
All right. Thank
you,
Chris.
Yep. Thanks, Missy, and everybody have a mindful day.